Why social media isn't fun anymore by Finding Sky. Why isn't social media fun anymore? Rage bait. Main character syndrome, rage bait, all that stuff. Let's get into it.
Main character syndrome is a fitting diagnosis for a condition bred in the age of social media where attention is literal currency.
Attention is attention is currency. Just how it is. I mean, if something, especially if things are free, if things are free, if something is free, you're the product. You are.
Algorithms vigorously push whatever captures and retains the most amount of viewers, which unfortunately leads to a lot of
spit on that thing.
Spit on that thing. I hate it here. Like, I hate it here because you can literally from like that one sound, she made it so that she became successful. How that works, I have no idea.
One of the primary characteristics of people who are chronically online is the psychological detachment from people in real life. Whether it's sticking their phone in front of someone's face for a photo, or screaming in a public restaurant for content, there's a common thread of complete disregard for other people. There seems to be a complete lack of
She draws? She does art? That's cool.
Consideration for how our actions impact others, especially when the media is involved. It's just an inevitable fact that people act different when there's a camera on them. It's like the real world they're in ceases to exist and they turn into some type of virtual character. It's obvious that people have become completely indifferent to other people's reactions and opinions. We spend so much time telling people not to care what other people think that now we have to remind them to. This is made obvious by the sheer
I mean, True. It's like sometimes, right? Sometimes, like, maybe it is important what other people think of you. Especially, for example, if you're applying for a job, if you're applying for anything that's like major life changing. Maybe it is important to know why. Maybe it's important to make sure that you make a good impression and not look like a total fool. Oh, she's good at it too. Yeah, she is. She is.
Level of disrespect and rudeness in casual interactions that seems to be becoming completely socially acceptable. There's a cultural shift happening where people are treating others as expendable objects that are not deserving of kindness or basic respect. This dehumanized society has completely killed friendliness and politeness. Instead, every interaction is strictly transactional. The popular phrase of "I don't owe anyone anything."
True. Like, I've seen a couple of tweets nowadays where it says, why you shouldn't be kind, because you're not getting anything out of it. Like, kindness doesn't reward you, so why be kind? I'm like, what? Just put down the phone, delete your Twitter account, touch grass, raise a family, I don't know, do something with your life. Touch grass. What do you mean?
Has been taken far too literally. I know it might be outdated news, but let's not forget the people that actually died at the Travis Scott concert getting stepped on to death as people rushed the stage. They were crowd surfing dead bodies out of the pit. We're breeding a culture that finds the life of fellow humans irrelevant and disposable.
Yeah, everything is like, even like people are content. True.
Just a few years ago, using the term NPC outside of a gaming context would leave people scratching their head wondering what you were even talking about. Even now, I'm not sure that the average person knows what it stands for, they just use it as an insult whenever they don't like someone. NPC stands for non-playable character. There's a plethora of them in pretty much any video game. They're there to immerse the player into the world.
Ever since that Imperial Craven ran me through from behind.
They have no real
Another thing is also like, what I have noticed. Now I forgot my thought point. There's a lot of people that, like, I just found that out recently. That a lot of people don't have an inner monologue, like they don't have an inner voice. And I'm like, are these literally NPCs? Like, how do they think? Like, when I think, I have like an inner monologue and like, what? And like an inner voice. Huh?
autonomy and are programmed with a specific set of tasks and responses. The term has become popular outside of the gaming realm to describe people who lack independent thought or seem basic. They're kind of just bystanders going about life without thinking much. You might think this whenever you're driving behind someone going 10 under the speed limit, or when you're talking to some blue-haired astrology chick about the 19th Amendment.
Blue-haired astrology chick. I mean, astrology is pretty much racism for white women. Let's not forget that.
50-50, man.
Anytime someone disagrees with you or is an inconvenience, your first instinct might be to call them an NPC. It implies that you are free-thinking and autonomous, and they're not. They're just some indoctrinated sheep living in their own little bubble. But this type of vernacular prevents us from recognizing that we too also live in our own little bubbles. Of course, everyone around you seems like an NPC when you don't know them. You're not connected enough to see them as anything other than a side character. Of course, everyone around you seems like an extra in the background of your movie, because in order for them to play a significant role in the film, you would have to interact with them. We tend to hold our individuality in high regard. Our individualism is what makes us unique, free-thinking, and autonomous. We have our own opinions, our unique personality traits.
Yeah, though that gets pushed too far when like everybody thinks like the thing is like everybody goes out like I'm like unique and like special and like that's why I require special treatment. No, you don't. No, you don't. You're not. Nobody's really unique, to be fair. We live more or less in a meritocracy, so what makes you unique is what you can, how well you do overall, and that's it. My inner voice keeps trying to get me to kill people. Don't know why though. Red flag real. Like I don't know how am I supposed to imagine that? Like you pick up a knife and like the inner voice just tells you stab him, stab him.
Our selected hobbies. These things are what distinguish us from other people. Our individual interests are of paramount importance to us, and we hold those in higher regard than any type of collective interest. Sure, your entire family might want you to go to school for engineering, but you want to go to art school, and you are an individual, so you get to make that decision. There's absolutely nothing inherently wrong with individualism. I appreciate that I get to make my own decisions because it gives me a sense of self-efficacy. I can spend 12 hours of my day working, or 12 hours of my day snorting cocaine. The situation changes as individual.
Damn, we went from individualism to doing drugs. The more you know. Are people faking having DID? Yeah, that's something that people do a lot on TikTok, apparently. Wait, is it? Nah, I don't think she is. I don't know. Like, the thing with, it's also like that the individual, that your own individuality goes even like above what would be the correct thing to do. So like you put your own like selfish behavior above everything else, which creates like a very like self-centered personality. And I know a lot of people that are like that just push like me, and like nobody else is like important. It's just me. I don't know. I can't live like that.
Individualism is taken to an extreme. There's a fine line between exercising your own autonomy and doing something at the expense of someone else. When you live in a culture that popularizes phrases like put yourself first and don't care what anyone else thinks, you end up with a bunch of people who pay no regard to anyone but themselves. There's such an emphasis on doing things for yourself these days that we forget it's cool to do some things for someone else sometimes. An issue arises when you begin to see yourself as some singular disconnected entity that is not a part of some greater collective interest. It leads to people becoming entirely self-centered, refusing to participate in anything that doesn't directly benefit them. It leads to atomization, loneliness, self-absorption, and heightened competition. Here's another thought. Maybe people are becoming increasingly self-obsessed because there seems to be nothing else to devote their energy to. People used to value family and make great sacrifices so that family—
Sure, like, people, like, when I'm looking around, like, people had more of a, people back then, like, had, like, more of, like, a mission. You had, like, a mission in your life. Like, you had a purpose, you had a reason, and now it's like, you just live. I don't know how to exactly put it. It's really just, like, you live, and that's it. There's no proper purpose in anything. For a lot of people.
could thrive. But the family unit appears to be collapsing from the inside out. Where's my dad? I grew up asking that question a lot. Oh, honey, he went out to get milk. Don't worry, he'll be
I'm happy that I had a dad.
back. He never came back. What's happening to the marriages? Where are the young relationships? There is no family unit. There is no unit at all except for the one-bedroom apartment unit you will live and die alone in.
I mean, she's not quite wrong. Why so specific on me? I didn't create these circumstances. Don't put that on me. I'm innocent. I want a family. I just can't find one.
I don't want to sound all negative, but the feces are hitting the fan. Social media has replaced some very fundamental social structures, and it's created a hyper-individualistic society full of people who have nothing to live for but to satisfy their own selfish desires. Of course the world revolves around me. What else is there for it to revolve around? We don't have friends. We don't have purpose. We don't have a family. We don't even have a house. People are getting away with...
Though the house problem is also, and I'm gonna straight up put that, on hyper-rich people. Because they're blocking the housing market. It's also because we have, like, for example, here in Germany, we have, like, hundreds upon hundreds of, like, empty houses. Or places that are not being utilized whatsoever. Right? We have like empty like huge like empty buildings where it's like, why do you not turn these into places where people can live? Why not create a few apartments out of this? Because there's super rich people sitting on these on the ground and don't want to like do anything with it. Or for example, BlackRock and Vanguard are very popular, like very sitting on the housing market in the United States, and they push the prices for houses. Wonderful, great idea. Why you didn't stop them? I do not know. Maybe you should.
Selling $1,000 courses on how to be hot. People are desperately trying to max out their stats so that they can be better equipped.
Max out their stats. Looks maxing! Looks maxing is real. I'm bitchless maxing.
To survive the hyper-competitive environment that they're in. There's a growing emphasis on having an attractive physical appearance, hence the term looks maxing. And look, it's perfectly normal for young people to start caring about how they look. Everybody goes through it, you get a little bit self-conscious about your image, but you do what you can to fix it, and then you move on. But these days, every minute aspect of people's physical appearance is being obsessed over.
Yeah, like getting a hammer and breaking your jaw so it may grow correctly. What are we doing?
Mewing for a better jawline, measuring your gonial angle, 6-step skincare routines, it's not normal anymore. People have become overly obsessed with how they look. But this is an unsurprising result of these visual platforms that are overtly superficial. I see these Gen Alpha kids on TikTok with a massive assortment of beauty products, and it just blows my mind. This is the last thing that was on my mind at that age. When I was a kid, I remember wanting to be something. When I grow up, I want to be a skateboarder. I want to be an artist. I want to be a rapper. What I wanted to be changed every 10 seconds, but the point is, I had aspirations of becoming something. For kids,
though, I have to also put that on a lot of parents. There are a lot of parents out there who say like, no, you can't do that because you're this and that. Okay. Like, when a child says, I want to be an astronaut. Well, that child may not become an astronaut, but maybe they become a pilot. Like, you know, the sky's the limit. Who knows? I like apartments. I want a home. The problem is, like, for example, I'm talking like from the German perspective, right? Nobody's building houses, so you utilize the ground that you already have that you could turn at least into like a place where you could live. Like, a young person probably won't be able to buy a house, right? So maybe we should first focus on like having like more living space first of all before we start building houses. You feel me?
Kids these days, their greatest aspiration is to say, when I grow up, I want to be hot. Do I even need to explain why that's a problem?
What a mission. When I grow up, I want to be incredibly fuckable. Yeah, sure.
Before the internet, you only had to compete with the people you were directly surrounded by. You compared yourself to people in your area, around your age, and adjusted accordingly. Now that the internet's here, your competition is literally worldwide. You don't just compare yourself to the people in real life, you compare yourself to the thousands of people you see online. And to make matters worse, these people you see online are likely already in the top 10% of attractiveness, at the perfect angle, with the perfect lighting, and the photo may still be edited on top of that. You got ops. But instead of your ops trying to come after you, they're mogging you with shirtless mirror selfies. I always feel like somebody's watching me. Attention is literal currency in an age where more views equals more money. An increasing number of people are craving to have eyes on.
I mean, more views technically does equal more money. I'm talking if I had to choose and one I'd choose a house. Obviously, I think a majority of people would choose a house if they ever had the choice to choose, obviously. They had the possibility to choose. I think most people would pick a house. Maybe the ones that don't want the responsibility probably would pick an apartment, but I think most people would pick a house.
Them. It's actually incredibly perverted when you really think about it. This incessant desire to have people constantly watching you. It's a strange compulsion, but humans naturally crave attention despite what a threat it might be to their privacy. It's somewhat understandable considering people do typically desire to be heard, seen, and influential.
That's why go vtuber. The worst that can happen is that you get a crazy person looking for where you live.
Seemingly better way to obtain that influence than with the internet where billions are at your fingertips. Only, it's all a fallacy. Because the engagement you receive online is much more shallow than your gullible brain could have ever imagined. The consumers of your content are rarely hearing or understanding you at all. You're one video in the thousands they've watched this week. A shallow snap judgment has been made about your content that will be forgotten about hours or, if you're lucky, days later. But unfortunately, most people find this lack of depth completely irrelevant. Once your brain receives a little taste of.
That's why I have a few crazy people sit there watch me 6 hours a day. And I still don't know why. Why are you here?
Exposure, it incessantly craves more of it. You no longer care to be heard or understood, but just to be seen by as many people as possible. Rarely is the intent to have positive influence, but instead to amass views. Couple this with the fact that algorithms tend to favor controversial and shocking content, and you've just created a machine that incentivizes a lack of authenticity. Algorithms don't have humanistic values like real people do. Or should. It doesn't care about the moral implications of a piece of content or the potential negative impact it could have on its viewers. It strictly cares about virality because more views equals more displayed advertisements, which means.
Yeah, that's why I get weird shit like the Tide Bot challenge, where there's a whole lot of bullshit, like people eating Tide Pods. Like, why? Or like other crazy shit, which the algorithm shouldn't show to people, but still does because it's going viral. I'm happy with the house I have, but I do aspire to have like 15 to 20 acres of land one day. Ooh, not bad. Not bad. Not bad at all. I hope you can get that. Sounds amazing.
More profit. This is the attention economy. It's one that values controversy over something thought-provoking or honest. It's one that commodifies human beings as products to be bought. With traditional forms of art, the artist themselves was rarely the primary focus. A painter painted so that the painting would be admired. A musician performed so that the symphonies would be appreciated. The focus of traditional art was for the product to be inspiring enough to have an impact on people. It wasn't for the focus to be on the artists themselves, but instead on the work they created. Dare I say, that is becoming increasingly rare in the age of social media.
To be fair, nowadays when I look at art, especially like television and like shows, oh my god, there's so many self-inserts, and you can clearly tell that they're self-inserts. Like, sorry, but that show is not about you. What are you doing?
Art and the artist seem to be inextricably attached. Even when an artist deliberately hides an aspect of themselves to protect their privacy, that only leads the public to search harder to reveal the mystery. All eyes are peering in on you, wondering what you'll do next. The artist is a commodity in which the public demands of it more content for their entertainment. In the age of social media, people become machines, dehumanized virtual characters feeding the endless vacuum of content. Please be conscious of what you consume, and I ain't talking about powdered donuts, I'm talking about content. How many cat videos can you watch before your brain gets bored? How much rage bait will you click on before your conscience clicks on? Social media is simultaneously the greatest and worst thing that has ever happened to the modern world. If you
True, no denial. No denial. Truth, she's right.
don't get a grip on your consumption of it, it will consume you.
She's correct. I agree with her. She is correct. She's based. She's actually based. Not bad. Not bad at all.